Extra Butter Scary Movie Halloween Special! Academy Award winner Octavia Spencer zooms by to talk about the new witches in town. We'll celebrate one of the scariest, most head-spinningest movies of all time with Linda Blair of The Exorcist, A Quiet Place's John Krasinski, and the new standard Jordan Peele talking Us, Get Out, and more on this Extra Scary Extra Butter. Hey, what's going on? And welcome back to Extra Butter. Yeah, don't mind what's in that box. I'll get to that in a minute. In the meantime, how are you doing? We're getting into Halloween weekend, and so I hope you have watched all the scary movies that you know and love, and maybe you can discover some in the future. Right now, I want to talk about that. There's a new instant family classic out there by the name of The Witches. Now, if you're right in the neighborhood of around 35, give or take, you probably remember the original Witches, also adapted from the Roald Dahl book of the same name, and you're still terrified by it. This one is no different. You got an awesome cast: Anne Hathaway, Octavia Spencer, Stanley Tucci. It's very faithful to the book of the same name from Roald Dahl, and it's very scary. Not to be confused, it's a family movie, but I guarantee you, under the age of 10, you're gonna be a little bit scared about the stuff that's in this movie. In the meantime, let's talk about what's great. They sent a box, and there's stuff in this box, and I'd love to pass it on to you, and we'll have to figure out what's in the box by maybe talking to one of its stars. Joining me right now, let's Zoom with Octavia Spencer. The personal questions off the top. Where are you, and how are you?
I am in Los Angeles, and I am great. Where are you, and how are you?
I am a stone's throw away from you in a city called Roseville, California, hanging out. Just got through watching this movie moments ago, and what a delight it is. And I don't say delight often.
Thank you.
It's exactly what we need right now, because this Halloween is going to be a little bit more challenging for the youngsters, and we need things to remind us that it is Halloween and a time to be celebrated, and great time to drop this, right?
I think so too.
Talk about on the day, because you're going to go on to do tremendous things, probably rake in a few more Oscars. But when you think back to the day making this movie, what's going to be the one day that crystallizes it? A day on the set.
Oh, I can't pick just one day. The whole experience was so much fun for me and my team that went with me, working with Bob, working with Annie, working with Stanley, Jazir, the whole cast. Every day was fun, and the crew. We had an amazing time working there.
And you're making a family movie, and if it goes well, which in this case it did, it's going to be a timeless classic to be watched for generations. So when we talk about witches and the tropes of a horror movie, even a family horror movie, what scares you, or what scared you as a kid? Fantasy stuff.
Well, I think the dark, and which scares a lot of kids, thunder and lightning, and the dark. And so we have a lot of thunder and lightning and darkness in this as well to bring up the spook element.
Yeah, I love that. Is there a favorite day on the set that you got over a hurdle? Maybe there was a challenging scene, you weren't sure if it was going to go well, and you crushed it. Just that walk away, that yes kind of feeling.
Well, I had hurt my back right before we started shooting. So
Yikes.
In my first week of filming, we had all of the grandma dancing and the bath, giving Jazir a bath in the bathtub, and I did not know how that was going to go, but it went well. They had a chiropractor come see me every day, and so that all of those things actually turned out well. But yeah, that was a challenge.
I think that should be in your rider from now on. Every movie, if not a chiropractor, a masseuse. I just think that I would get spoiled having a chiropractor every day.
Oh, he had to come every day because my back, and I had to drive an hour, so it just didn't sit well. And so he would come, and it was by the 8th day gone. So.
Well, yeah. The movie's so much fun in a time we need it most. During this pandemic, I've talked to so many people on your side that have done wonderful things or learned how to do something that they've never done. Tell me one good thing to come out of this time.
One good thing to come out of this time is I spent a lot of time talking with family and friends. I spent a lot of time, talking and visiting with people.
That seems to be the best thing that came out of this. Even if it's via Zoom, I find people are more in touch with people than ever before.
Yeah. We have to be. I mean, because my cooking is still bad.
I doubt it's that bad. Hey, you guys sent me a box, a witch's box. Can I open it? Can I unbox it in front of you right now in the last few seconds we have?
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Hold on, here we go. I can't wait to see what you guys brought me. Hang on just a second. Hey, you guys brought me a puppy?
Did we really? That's amazing.
Octavia Spencer got us a puppy. This is the best Halloween ever. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It might be a child. Are you sure?
How awesome is she? No, I'm not talking about you. By the way, you doing okay? Do you need a sausage? I'm kidding. My dog's not in this box anymore. But there is cool stuff in it. If you want it, follow me on Facebook. First, I need you to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's Extra Butter TV. And then jump on Facebook. Tell me that you've done that. I would love to share the wealth of all the stuff that's in that box. All right then, Witches, you can get it on HBO Max and the HBO Max app. And by the way, it's free for a limited time. All right, enough with all this modern movie stuff. Let's go back to the basics. The very first movie that scared me and may be terrifying you to this day. Hey, I thought you were in the box. It may be terrifying you to this day. The original Exorcist, one of the few ancient horror movies that holds up. We will talk to its star, Linda Blair, from back in the day, next. Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to Extra Butter TV. We're talking all things scary movies, whether you see them on the big screen, the small screen, or everything in between. Moments ago, we were talking about The Witches, which is probably the freshest of the bunch. I mean, the paint hasn't even dried on that. Now I want to talk about back in the day, The Exorcist. My parents should have been taking me to family movies like The Witches or Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. But oh no, they took me at 8 years of age to see The Exorcist. I can't remember if it was the original release or the re-release. Regardless, I have to change my pants just thinking about it. Are you still scared by The Exorcist? I had a chance to catch up with, after a long time of being haunted by her, with Linda Blair, who, by the way, was the same age, 8 years old, when she starred in this movie, and we talked about it. Take a look. Hey, it's great to see you.
Nice to see you, Mark. Thank you.
Now, I've always wanted to ask you, was it an insult to you throughout your life when people would come up and say, I had so many nightmares and you were in them? How do you take that?
I suppose in the beginning, it was like, okay. I never knew how to answer them. But as years went on, I guess I've just gotten so used to it. I just sit and I go, uh-huh. I'm not the one responsible for writing the novel. I didn't direct the film. Sure. I didn't create it. I mean, I was a part of it, but people feel very compelled to tell me their story, so I feel very responsible to listen.
Well, do creepy people come out of the woodwork and say, I was possessed once. Can I tell you about it? Anybody like that?
Not too much. Once in a while, you'll meet somebody that you're a little concerned for.
Right. And then if you meet them again, you get a restraining order against them, and hopefully it takes care of it.
Yeah, well, we haven't had to go there.
Good. Yeah. Well, hopefully with the re-release, that's not going to happen,
I don't think so. What was a typical workday like for you, especially during the heavy possession scenes? Probably makeup. Getting up at 5, being there at 6. Dick Smith, our fantastic makeup artist, he learned to put a TV in back of me on a shelf, and so I could watch in the mirror, because it was very difficult to sit there day in and day out for so many hours. And then we would, rehearse lighting and so forth. I might go to school, I might come back. I mean, my school was in my dressing room. Long hours, just a lot of technical. We may have to test another piece of equipment.
The day you shot the scene where he said, the devil says, you want to say something to your mom? She's in here with me, and then suddenly what was that? What spewed from your mouth?
Oh, pea soup.
It was pea soup.
Yeah, we have some here for you.
I was misinformed. I was told it was cream of broccoli. Was I misinformed?
Oh, well, kind of, but that's okay. I'm sure it's good.
Sadly, I didn't do my research. I wasn't sure what kind of soup it was. At least I knew the soup part was right. Maybe next time I talk to her for the 50th, 60th anniversary of Exorcist, I'll get it right. Regardless, if you haven't checked out The Exorcist, turn the lights off, turn the volume up, and get ready to be haunted by not only one of the scariest movies, but to this day, one of the scariest scores in all of horror movie history, with the exception of maybe Jaws. Anyway, want to talk modern horror? When we come back, my favorite modern horror movie of all time, Get Out. Jordan Peele, comedian turned avant-garde director of all things scary, joins me to talk about how it all began next. Hey, welcome back to Extra Butter TV as we talk about all things scary for this scary weekend. All right, we've talked about The Exorcist, old school. Before that, we talked about The Witches, brand spanking new. Now let's talk about my favorite modern horror movie of all time. This century, it's got to be owned by Get Out, brought to you by Jordan Peele. Long before he crushed it in Black Panther, it starred the iconic poster image guy, Daniel Kaluuya, and Allison Williams. Interestingly, the daughter of NBC former anchor Brian Williams. I had a chance to sit down with Jordan Peele to talk about all of the aforementioned stuff and the fact that I met him one time on the set of Keanu, the movie about a cat. Take a look. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you, man.
We have some history we should probably talk about.
All right.
So when I interviewed you for the movie Keanu, I thought it would be great to do it in a cat sanctuary.
Yes.
And I was holding a cat, and the moment I started speaking, the cat splattered on the ground and ran off.
That's right.
Do you remember
That's
that?
right. I do remember that.
Have you forgiven me?
I've forgiven you. You know, whoever set that up didn't really double check whether or not I was allergic to cats.
Yeah, how'd that work out?
You know, it was okay. When I had Keanu in my hands, it was fine. It's just one. I could put him down. In the cat sanctuary, I almost died.
What about signing up to do a film about a cat?
Yeah, that was and writing one. You'd think I would have thought that through.
Right.
But it just goes just like this movie. You know, writing a movie, you don't think like, I'm such a fan. You don't think someone's actually going to make your movie.
Right.
So you just write something with the passion. You write something with your favorite movie that you've never seen, and hopefully, you know, somebody picks it up. And you know, with Get Out, it was definitely a movie I didn't think anyone was ever going to make. And
I was going to ask. With that said, are you allergic to scary movies, or are you a huge fan of this product?
I am. You know, when I was a kid, I was as terrified of scary movies as anyone could be. I was very scared of the dark till like 12.
Yeah.
Just a complete coward. At some point, a switch flipped, and I was like, you know, anything that can affect me that much is art. Is masterful. And so from that point on, I've respected horror as an art form, and you know, there's a handful of really great additions to horror a year, and so I wanted to take a stab.
One of the best directors in Hollywood, horror or otherwise. Love that guy, Jordan Peele. Of course, he went on and followed Get Out with Us, and then following that, he and the producers created Antebellum, and I just happened to be showered with some Antebellum DVD Blu-rays. If you'd like them, let me know in comments down below. And by the way, if you're watching on TV, jump onto YouTube as well and like and subscribe and give me the comments there. All right, when we come back, A Quiet Place, another one of my favorite modern horror movies. We'll go behind the scenes, and also my horror movie expert at large, Kelly Savanah Deaton, jumps in with her picks. When we return, don't move. Welcome back to Extra Butter. Very exciting time for me. When I started doing this show, and even the show that became this show, one of my very first panelists, one of the most loyal and best movie panelists in the world, joining us now, Kelly Savanah Deaton, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, thank you, Mark. That's so sweet.
Happy Halloween weekend.
Yes, I'm so excited. You know me and Halloween. I wish it was Halloween every day of the year.
This is what I'm talking about. The very first time I met you, we were on the Facebook campus doing this thing with Mark Zuckerberg, and I started chatting with you about being on the show, and you said, I love horror movies. In fact, it's my pipe dream to do what?
To be the blonde girl who dies first in a horror movie.
And that happened. We'll talk about that in a minute. In the meantime, let's roll through some movies that you consider to be the must-see holiday horror movies of all time.
All right, so I think okay, we can't talk horror without the demonic possession, really creepy spirits. Then you have Conjuring 1 and 2, so the Conjuring universe, including Annabelle and the second Annabelle creation. Those movies, I mean, I have to go like this when I watch them, Mark. I have to cover one eye, and I have to have the lights on when I watch those movies. And that's rare, because demonic possession, there's nothing like it. That eerie feeling, those movies are just not okay, which makes them amazing to watch.
If you add up all the Annabelles, if you add up all the Conjurings, for me though, it's still Conjuring 2. I think that's one of the best horror movies ever made.
Yes, you can't top, that's true. Out of all of those, I agree with you. Conjuring 2 just has that extra level of you're gonna get possessed when you watch it. So that's what makes a good horror movie. But if you wanna talk old school and the creepiest type of horror movie, you gotta go with Texas Chainsaw from 2003.
Oh no, I think we pulled the wrong poster. We're showing Texas Chainsaw 3D. Got any experience with that?
Mark, Texas Chainsaw 3D. No offense, I love Scott Eastwood. I love Alexandria Daddario, but come on now. No one at home should watch this unless you want to laugh at how bad it is. That movie is awful. So not to be confused with the amazing, underrated Texas Chainsaw from 2003 starring Jessica Biel.
Yeah, and of course, Michael Bay had something to do with that. And I love that here's a guy that spun off of $250 million movies to make a relatively smaller budgeted, old-fashioned, slice and dice 'em horror movie.
Oh, that movie is so amazing. Just the undertone of just pure evil and Leatherface. And that's a movie that literally you're like, oh, everyone's going to die. You just know. Whenever there's a chainsaw involved, pretty much everyone dies. It's kind of like the formula of those kind of horror movies.
And then you told me also that you're a huge fan of not only Scream, but every Scream movie made.
Yes, those are okay. The thing about Scream is you can pretty much pop it in and watch it at any time. Well, if you have DVD, let's talk vintage right here, or just stream it at any time. Any one of them is amazing. And it's so fun. Those movies are hilarious, fun, scary, and they hold up even now. And I used to have the biggest crush on Matthew Lillard. Remember that guy? Oh, the best.
Matthew Lillard, come on, went on to be Shaggy in Scooby-Doo. Zoinks! Hi, Kelly.
I wasn't such a fan of him in that, but in Scream, he was amazing. That's my favorite kind of scary movie too, when it has the comedic aspect too. It's the perfect combination of scary and funny. Until you see Fear Farm. Have you heard of that little movie?
Now that you're talking about it, I was inspired by Scream and Texas Chainsaw Massacre and thought, what kind of world where those two films get together? And so that's how we ended up making that movie. And I'm glad you're on today because I called you and said, hey, we're going to save some money on one of the LA actors. There's one small part that you would be perfect for. And what was that part?
Can I plot spoil? Am I allowed? Everyone should have seen this by now, right?
Yeah, good point.
Okay, this was my life dream. You literally said, hey, remember that dream you told me about years ago? And I said, you mean the one where I can die first in a horror movie? And you said, yep, that's the one. And so I said, I volunteer as tribute. And then the rest is history.
Well, congratulations. Way to commit to the bit, as they say.
Yeah, I went really method. I kind of pulled from like Robert De Niro in Taxi Driver.
What, you had people randomly stick a machete in your head?
Yeah, it's a little, if you can see, there's still quite the scar, but I'm doing okay.
No, you combed the hairline perfectly. All right, let's talk about what you told me was your favorite movie of the current breed of horror movies, and we agree on this wholeheartedly. A Quiet Place is my favorite modern horror movie.
Yes, that kind of changed the game with horror movies because we all know that the music and the dialogue of most horror movies is what ramps up till we get to the killing. And it's kind of that, very scary undertone throughout. But what John Krasinski did, who also produced, directed, starred, he wore every hat in this film and he had to direct his wife, Emily Blunt. But what he did in this is he made it literally a quiet place in the theater. So it was so nerve-wracking because you had subtitles the entire time. It was dead silent in the theater, and that hadn't been done before, and that made us wanting more.
Yeah, and let's talk about Emily Blunt and her commitment to that bathtub scene.
And what's funny is everyone asked John Krasinski, did you have to direct her in that? And he said, oh, heck no, I did not touch that. I did not even remotely pretend to know I know what that's like. I just let her do her thing and watched and sat back in amazement. Because that scene is, oh gosh, that is pure terror. Pure terror.
Yeah, I had a chance to talk to him. I talked to her about that scene and talked to him about how do you pitch your wife on making a movie? Take a look. I would love to know the process. I know how you would pitch this movie to a studio, but how do you pitch to your wife this movie?
That's a good question. I was actually terrified to pitch to my wife. She knew the ideas that I was having and what I wanted to do with it and how I wanted to direct it. But I never let her read the script because I was genuinely she's the only person I wanted. Yeah. But I was genuinely concerned because I thought it could go only one of two ways, which is, will you do this movie? And she says no.
Right.
And that's a very awkward dinner.
Right.
Or I say yes, or she says yes, I'll do it for you. And that's actually worse. I didn't want her to do something for me because I am very, I'm witness every time to how specific her choices are, how smart her choices are, and the insane taste level she has.
With that said, what happens if she falls in love with the part and you go, yeah, I was thinking more Mila Kunis?
Yeah, that was not the case in this instance. But I don't think there's no better actress for me in any movie than her.
I think I enjoyed people's reaction to the nail sequence, like the whole nail in the stairs. It's like when I saw it with the South by Southwest audience, which is when I first saw it with an audience of
Right.
1,200 people, we didn't know that the nail set piece would play as well as it did. But honestly, as soon as I turned on the basement lights, people were like, no, like they were just like screaming at the screen. So it was kind of fun to watch.
Everything comes together in like the most perfect way. That scene is going to be played for film students forever. Have you noticed that scene? It plays like Jaws.
Yeah, it's amazing.
The music, in very much the same way, manipulates the audience. You know it's coming.
It's very cool watching it, yeah.
I love that movie so much, and not to end this show on a downer, but A Quiet Place 2 was the very first movie to have to get pushed because of the pandemic. I mean, literally, it was to drop that week. 4 days before open, they had to pull it because of the national shutdown. So we can hope when the world opens up again, that movie will be back on big screens, right?
I'm so depressed about that, Mark. It was literally, like you said, the screening was about 4 or 5 days before the movie came out, and we all got an email saying, nope, it's going to be canceled and postponed.
All right. Well,
can't wait for that.
When we're talking about best horror movies in 2021, we'll be talking about this sequel. Kelly Savanah Deaton, where do we find you on all social media?
At Kelly Savanah Deaton.
Awesome. You have an awesome Halloween weekend. Thanks for hanging out with me this show and always.
Hey, wait, Mark, what are you dressing up as this year?
I'm not going to tell you right now. I'm dressing up as the bathtub.
Oh, no. Yeah, we're still on the horror movie special, so that checks out, actually.
Yeah, all right. Thanks. Hey, what are you going as?
I'm going to think like more vintage 90s with Kurt Cobain and Courtney Love, maybe.
Awesome. Say goodbye.
Bye. Happy Halloween.